Hello, everybody. Good evening. I am so excited to see everyone here. It's time. Good evening, everybody. I see a lot of comments coming in already. It's so exciting being here. I'm very happy. Just seeing everybody, the excitement room is palpable. So I am so excited. We are going to have a very amazing time this evening. We're going to be talking about taxes. Waiting with this tax matter self. So for those of you that are like, oh, what kind of topic is this one? Basically, we're just going to be answering some very interesting questions, particularly targeting startups and business owners who are very confused as far as compliance and regulation is concerned, because we see that that's a key issue that a lot of business owners have challenges with. So I'm not going to be doing this alone, definitely, right? I have an amazing moderator who is already with us already. So please just confirm if you can hear me, guys. If you can hear me, just let me know in the comment section. I know that we're going to be expecting more people, and very soon moderator is going to be joining us. So I'll particularly just be answering. So this is like a short Q&A session, and there's a lot that's going to be shared. I know that you're going to really have fun this evening. So we have more people joining me. I see some comments. Someone says in the comment section, getting ready. I love it. I also see some of our viewers on YouTube. So I'm actually looking at YouTube. Bumi says she can hear me. Fantastic. Thank you, Bumi. Nice to see your comments. Love it. Love it. So if you're in the comment section, just write your name, introduce yourself. I always like to make our first sessions be like mini or speed networking. So I have people who are here and they're saying, oh, this is where I'm from. So introduce yourself, tell us where you're from, tell us what you do. So are you in the startup space, or you are in the legal, or you are in business advisory, whatever it is. So Bestie says she can hear me. Hi Bestie, it's so good to see you. Well done on all the fantastic work you also do for businesses out there. I see Elijah Eto, you're welcome. Yes, he confirms that he can hear me. Okay, great. So I'm not even going to be wasting so much time. I'm just going to bring our moderator on board. And of course, before I do that, GB is an amazing person. So it's like how will I put it? Is a bundle of talent in one, right? How do I even describe somebody who has a very deep understanding of what it is to really, learn and be a learning specialist? It's just a beautiful thing to see. So I would definitely want him to introduce himself, because he's going to be talking so much. And so, hi GB, good evening. You're welcome. It's good to have you here. It's exciting. If you can see me, if you can hear me, I would love to just see that. And then, of course,
I can see you and I can hear you.
All right, good. So ignore what happened earlier. I think it was my screen or something. So Gabriel Balunga, I call him, what do I call him? I call him the energizer. Like, he's just somebody who likes to bring so much energy into whatever he does. I've been privileged to work with Gabriel on so many projects. He's very passionate about breaking down learnings and making it very simple. He'll tell you about himself. Don't worry, I'm not even going to talk too much, right? I'm just here to just answer your question. Just give it to me as it's hot, right? So hi, yes, I can see GB's face. Okay, yeah. Hi, Gabriel. I call him GB for short. So in case you just hear me say, I ask, can I use GB? Yeah, this is Gabriel. Hello, Gabriel. How are you doing?
I'm excited. I'm stoked. I'm happy to be here.
Oh,
How are you doing?
yeah, I'm
Beautiful
great.
evening to
It's a wonderful Saturday evening. Some people are just coming back from Bears, which is very so while some are learning on the Saturday, and honestly, like, they are the real MVPs. I give them hand, right? So I would have wanted to read your profile. I will still do that. But I would want you to talk a little bit about what you do. Of course, we all know why we're here, so we're just doing basic introductions. So guys, please introduce yourself in the comments, so you can just meet somebody who can give you your next $1 million. So yeah, don't take this opportunity for granted. So Gabriel is a multidisciplinary learning specialist and with a decade experience in building learning programs and solutions for startups, brand and marketing agencies, corporate and tech. In his early 20s, he apprenticed under Paul Fo, which is America's #1 sales coach. If you know Paul Fo, you know what I'm talking about. And has led corporate trainings at Trellis Group and developed his consulting skills at Business Lab Africa under Trisha Bees. If you're in the business world, you definitely have heard that name. And also, he joined Itiva in 2021 as academic director, where he led the development of a learning management system that trained 8,000 plus learners. And then he then moved to analytics and intelligence. He also, of course, is the director of Asile and Eden, and of course, does career coaching, career life consultancy, of course, and has worked with so many institutions such as Future Academy Africa, and has helped to build a lot of learning and development systems and structures just to help systems to scale and develop. So, with a very wonderful applause, maybe E emojis, just picture it together as we welcome Gabriel, who is our moderator for tonight. I'm in his hands, guys, so please just celebrate him. And yeah, GB, how you doing? It's so good to just have you. Thank you so much for doing this with me. We've talked about this for the longest time, right? There have been times
Definitely,
where we
yeah.
had to talk about businesses. We've worked together on some business projects, and when it comes to this issue of tax, you're just like, God, I beg, right? And we're like, okay, let's talk about this really, right? Let's talk about this. So before we go into the nitty gritty of what we're doing today, tell me a little bit about your journey as a learning specialist, just in maybe a minute or two, talking to us about what you do and why you think what you do is important to businesses, because we are both in the business sector. I consult and help startups to grow, develop, do their things. You, on the other hand, you help them to break down their systems. A lot of people, when they hear learning specialist, it's kind of vague. So give us, just one or two breakdowns as to what you really do. Let's see how many people will jump on the opportunities that you have for them before we start the session properly.
Okay, so I was about to do a quick game, but I think we can still do it after this.
Yeah.
My name is Gabriel Balogun. I am a learning and development specialist with close to a decade experience helping individuals and organizations build learning products. All right. Over the years, I've been privileged to work with top brands like Wetin, Trisha Bees, for Canvas, to mention a few. I currently lead learning and development at Money Points. All right. I am head of learning at Money Points. And that's really me in a nutshell. I've been doing this for like the past 10 years. So learning, I personally believe that the function of education is to help people to think critically and intelligently. So irrespective of everything I do, is centered around those two pillars. This course they are going to take, this platform they are going to use, is it going to make their people think critically and intelligently? The answer is yes. Then I'm good. That's what drives.
Awesome. So, like, you are the moderator for tonight, so I'll just moonwalk away from the spotlight and and bring your board so that we can get cracking. I know a lot of people are here buzzing with questions. So if you're on this call, I see Abimola Iwola, you're so welcome, ma'am. I see Augustine, good day, you're welcome. I see Ceci, you're welcome. Thank you so much for being here. So if you know business owners, you have startups, you have people who you are talking to and they really want to understand this tax thing, please by all means invite them, share the link, right? Post on your LinkedIn, post on your WhatsApp, your YouTube, whatever it is. Facebook, let people know that something amazing is happening here. So with that, I hand over to you, GB. Have fun. Bye.
All right.
For next
So before we go
seconds.
straight into the questions, I want everybody to drop in the chat box in one sentence. Drop in the chat box what you do. Try to write it like you're writing to a 5-year-old. So in one sentence, explain what you do to a 5-year-old in one sentence. It's usually a very deep game that can help build critical reasoning. If you cannot explain what you do in one sentence to a 5-year-old, then you really have not thought deeply about what to do. So can I say the chat's buzzing?
Let me see if I can write my own.
In one sentence, not one word. And you know a sentence has a punctuation at the end. So let's do that to get everybody on board. Okay, Yusuf says cross-border payments. Okay, but a 5-year-old will not understand cross-border payments. It's for some of us it may be a bit tough, but so for me, I would say something like I teach people how to do their jobs better. That's what I do in one sentence to a 5-year-old. I can't see comments. So, Rosamond, can you still hear me? Okay, so
Yes, I
Joel
can.
says,
Yeah.
Joel says, I help people understand and comply with the law. Excellent. I like that. So, quick expo, if you're in HR, you can say something like, I mommy the organization. Remember, you're talking to a 5-year-old. So you have to, because the beauty with this exercise is that it gives you an opportunity to be able to think about what you do in the most basic form and then innovate from that. All right. If you cannot approach, and that's what has made people like Elon Musk stand out. They follow the concept of first principles. So when he was going to make Tesla, it was not just going to make another locomotive vehicle. It was not just going to make another car that was going to use petrol. First principles, what's the purpose of a car? To move people from point A to point B. That's the most basic version of what a car is. The next question is, if I'm going to innovate, how can I make it cleaner? How can I make it faster? And how can I make it cheaper in the long run? So that's how Tesla came to life. If not, you would have just built another Bugatti or another Mercedes. So the purpose of the exercise is to help you think critically. This education intensely about what it is that you do. And then Oluwabumi says, I help business people to remain in business. Now, thank you for everyone that is trying. Rosemont, can you share with us what do you do in one sentence? Can you imagine that I am a 5-year-old? How do you explain this magnificent thing that you do in one sentence?
Okay. 5-year-old. Okay, this person should understand business now. So I would say I help them obey. I help them to obey better, to obey rules better. Yeah, that's what I would say.
All right, that's pretty much
Yeah,
sound.
so ready.
Yeah, so the first question would be, can you give, because I speak for business owners here and every other person on the call that is navigating this tax wahala. What would you say is the current tax climate for SMEs and corporates? Maybe we should use SMEs and startups. Well, I think lawyers here and other people that may be dealing with corporates. So, what is a brief overview of the current tax climate for businesses in Nigeria?
Okay, so I would love to start with the big picture and then I granulate down. Nigeria operates a federal system of government. That means it's three-tiered. You have the federal government, you have the state government, and then you have the local government. So we're talking about climate. That's what first understanding. Now, depending on the industry that you are in as a business owner, there are certain requirements or there are certain regulations that govern or that regulate what you do as a business owner. But I will start from the very core principles, right? When you talk about climate, you're talking about everything that concerns it. So the laws, the regulations, the regulators. And You may say laws and regulations are the same. Obviously, they are. So I'll give a typical example. Everybody knows that for you to incorporate an organization or a business in Nigeria, right, you need to be registered, you need to be recognized as a juristic person if you're a limited liability company, or you should have some sort of registered status if you're a business name, whatever the likes, right? I won't go into all that. But the next thing you start thinking about is what does the government require from me and when I start my business? And who am I required to do these things or pay to or remit to? So that's what made me go and start from the categories or the cadres of government we have. So the federal government collects taxes. So let's even start with the basic principles. What's tax? Tax basically is a percentage of the profit you make as a business owner, right? So the first concept that I always like to talk about is the fact that taxes are based on profits. If the taxes come from profits of a business, I talk to a lot of people. They're like, "Oh, government, I pay this amount, I pay this amount. Government, my economy." No, government cannot tax where there's no revenue, there's no profit. So that's the foundational principle. All right, there are exceptions when you have the laws that state that whether you make money or not, there's minimum tax. But that's a different conversation. So there are taxes that are paid to the federal government, right? The taxes that are paid to the state government. So federal government is FIRS, that's the Federal Inland Revenue Service, right? They are the collectors, they are the organizations or they are the government agencies that recognize to collect taxes on behalf of the federal government. Then you have the state government, which is the LIRS. In Lagos, every state has its own internal revenue service. So for Lagos, it's LIRS, right? I know that for Ogun State, they have different names for each of those states, depending on location, right? That is for that. Then, of course, local government, you have taxes that are collected. So let me give you a typical example of a local government tax thing that you collect. You see, for those of you that drive cars, you see that that thing that they will charge you. You may not even see it. So for playing your radio in your car, I hope you know you are paying something to local government. When you go and do your car papers, just look through some of your documents. You see road or radio levy or something like that. So you are paying that to the local government. So different categories and different cadres of so yes, so there are different categories of taxes that are payable, and I don't want to go. So the climate basically is I have, as a business owner, I am to pay to the federal. I have some responsibilities that are to be paid to the state. An example of some of the taxes that are collected from the state is if you are a business owner, you run a business and you have staff, you have employees. The Lagos State government looks at you as a representative of them in the organization. So you must collect the taxes of your employees and remit it and keep it on behalf of the government and remit to the state. You don't remit employee taxes to federal government, right? What you remit to federal government are things you now hear things like value added tax, as I'm sure everybody has heard that, company income tax. Those are the two popular taxes. That's a little breakdown of the climate in itself. There's so much, it's beyond just VAT, CIT, but just to summarize anyways, that's so just understand and think of it from those three levels, and you'll be fine.
Excellent. So a little bit of recap. We pay corporate tax to the federal government, right?
Like federal government, yes. So you pay tax. Oh, they are all corporate taxes, but depending on the nature of taxes, yeah.
Okay, so for taxes like pay, who gets that? Is it the state government or the federal government?
The state government. State government gets that.
So the state government gets value-added tax.
State government gets PAYE. Federal gets VAT, value-added tax.
So federal gets VAT. State government gets PAYE. Now, can you explain what? Because I knew we had a personal session where I was asking, what is VAT? What is pay? Like, as a consultant, a contractor, I also have to pay tax. What type of tax do I have to pay? So can you walk us through those dimensions as a business owner, as an employee, and then as an individual contractor? What are the three types of? Because I know they are taxed across those three things. So the first one is as a business owner, what tax do I pay? Let's
Okay.
start with that.
All right, great. So, GB, make sure you follow me. Now, as a business owner, you incorporate a business organization, right? So whether it's a limited liability company, which of course, as we all know, has independent juristic personality. What that simply means is that you have directors, you have shareholders. Think of your company as a car. I always share this a lot. Think of your company as a car. If you're sitting in the car and you are the one driving the car, you are a director, right? If you have shareholders, you have passengers, they're your passengers. The engine of your car, think of them as maybe your advisory board of directors, or your manual or whatever it is. Now, if you are a business owner, there are so many kinds of, depending on your industry. So let me pick an industry, for example. You are in the learning space, so you teach, you create courses, or maybe you're in real estate or something, you have a company. Now, as a business owner, there are some basic taxes that you pay, and I'll break it along the three. So to the federal government, whatever you earn in a financial year, the government collects a certain percentage as company income tax, right? Now, company income tax is paid to the federal government, and that is the FIRS, right? So there's a certain percentage that's required. Now, let me tell you the update on that. Right now, the Finance Act, at least right now, there's a Finance Act that's before the House of Assembly, but the current one that we currently have states that if your revenue is not up to 25 million in a financial period, so a financial period is between the 1st of January and 31st of December. Some companies start that in June, but that's a whole different technicality. But if in a financial period, your company is not earning more than 25 million in a financial period, your company income tax is at 0%. If your earning is between 25 million and 100 million, your earning or your payment or tax is 20%. And if it is above 100 million, it's 30%. So different industries or whatever it is you're doing, your financial statement will literally be the Bible upon which your judgment will be based, right? So you are paying company income tax to the federal government. The second thing that the government gives you a responsibility to do is the moment you are registered as a company, and I'm talking about limited liability companies now, you have to apply for and get your tax identification number. And this cuts across whether you are a business name or you are a limited liability company. You have to obtain your tax identification number, because that is the number that will even be used to open your file in the tax office. It's that number that is going to be used to, you know, track you, to identify who you are. That's why it's called a tax identification number. So a lot of people don't know. They think once they register their business, they are good to go. But they don't understand that if you don't get your tax identification number at the point of registration, if you go back 1 year after and say, I don't have my tax identification, guess what? You're going to walk in there and you already have a 50,000 naira levy or penalty that's waiting for you, because the law mandated as far back as 2021 that you must obtain your tax identification number at the point of registering your business. So for consultants on the call, for businesses on the call, you don't have the tax identification number, you have to make sure that's rectified. So the second thing is you are meant to collect value added taxes from your clients, from your customers. And why is that? So let me explain the concept of value added tax. It simply means that for the service or for the product that you're offering to them, right, you are providing value. Let's just look at it as simple as that, right? You are delivering value, so there's a certain percentage that the government takes, and that percentage is 7.5%. It was 5% before, and it was changed under the new law, so it's 7.5%. The law mandates you to ensure that you place that 7.5% as your collection basically on your receipts, on your invoices, right? Because the government literally sees you as a collecting agent on their behalf. That's for the FIRS. Don't forget, we are still talking about federal government now. We've not moved to states. All right. Then there are some certain other taxes that are collected. So there's the education levy. I don't want to granulate too much. I want to make this thing as simple as possible, right? So let's keep to those two. But there are others. There are other taxes that are collected, especially based on the industry that you are in. There's a tertiary education tax. That's different. There's a certain requirement that you have to before you even start paying that. For those companies that are in the telecommunication sector, obviously their levies are quite a lot, right? They pay capital gains tax and the rest. So you actually have that, right? So federal government collects most, in fact, that's what they collect, to be honest. That's what they collect. Let me see if I can mention one more tax that the federal government collects. So withholding tax as well, education tax, petroleum, profits made from the doing petroleum. So whether you are in the upper stream sector, the midstream or the downstream, whatever stream you are in, you pay taxes, petroleum profit tax to the federal government and all. So that's for federal government, right? Stamp duties you pay to the federal government. For those of you that buy property and you have to do governor's consent, all those things that you are paying, right? You have to, right? You have to, of course, you have to do that. Some states like Lagos, governor's consent, you are going to have to pay some payments to the state too, but that's very important to know. Then let's come down to state government. So you're a business owner, you run a business. What taxes and what levies are you paying to your state government? Now, I'm going to break it into two. You, as the owner of the business, there are two categories of taxes that are collected by the state government if you are a business owner. The first is the what is called direct assessment. So direct assessment basically is you paying taxes from your own income. So, for example, for business owners who earn salaries in their business, right? The government collects, direct assessment. You directly assess yourself and assess the amount that you are meant to pay. And then for your employees or for your staff, you pay what is called pay as you earn. So there's a certain calculation, which of course I will not bore everyone with at the moment, but it's just a basic understanding. Pay as you earn, you actually do that. That's your employees have to obtain their own pay tax identification numbers from Lagos State. So for Lagos, it is the Lagos Inland Revenue Service. It's very easy. Everything is now online. If you go to LIRS .gov.ng, I think so. You check the website, you see basically how it explains how you can open an account for your employees, open an account for your staff. Easy to calculate. There's even a calculator on the site. Very, very easy to do, right, by yourself. Then, of course, stamp duties on instruments executed by individuals. So if you're buying land, you're buying property, of course, you pay stamp duties to your state government. Then you see pool, betting houses. If you run those, you also pay your betting levies to the state government, road levies, road taxes, business registration permits. Those are things that you pay to the state government. And then for those of you that you go to the market, maybe you go to maybe a meat market and all that, those guys, they actually pay taxes to the state government as well, right? Right of occupancy. Those are some of the things you pay to the state. So those are some key things that you actually pay. Yeah. So I hope that explains it. Then I've
Thank
talked
you.
about the business owner, right? I've also explained for the employees as well, but the business owner has the
Yeah.
responsibility to ensure that their employees' taxes are deducted at source and are remitted on their behalf. So it's not the employee's business many times to go to LIRS because the company should do that for you. That's the expectation, right? But as a business owner, you
Mm.
have a duty to remit and ensure that you are also remitting on behalf of your staff as well. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Rosemond. That was very explanatory. When I
Mm.
say self-explanatory, that was very explanatory. I literally took notes. Yeah, because doing business in Nigeria can be tough, and then it is tougher
Tell me about it.
if the government is not. If you're not on the good side of the government, it is tougher. All right. So it is extremely important that we, as business owners and as advisors to business owners, or as even employees of businesses, it is good to always know why certain type of tax
Yeah.
should be paid. All right. Um, Another question would be, what would you say are like the common challenges faced
Mm.
by businesses when it comes to compliance with tax regulations?
Mm.
What are the common challenges that, maybe I shouldn't say common challenges because we know them, or what I could say is, aside mentioning the common challenges, can you also state solutions to those challenges
Yeah.
that businesses face when it comes to being compliant with paying tax? Because it's
Mm.
frustrating when you pay tax and you literally cannot see what the tax is doing.
Okay.
So I for one, can say that's the bad. That's the common barrier. People complain that we are paying tax, there's no light, I still have to fall my jail. I would make profit,
Yeah.
you still collect money. So what are some of the solutions? Can you list the challenges and then the solutions?
Okay, so the pain that you guys feel, that business owners or startups feel, is very, very, very common. In fact, most of the business owners that I speak to, that's their major frustration. And the problem is that because it's something that is ignored for so long, it is when they realize that without it, they can't get other things done, then they have to start running around and trying to regulate. You get what I'm saying? So if you're a business owner and let's say you are pitching to an investor, or you are trying to get a contract from the government, or you're trying to, get something, and they tell you where are your tax papers, and you don't have that, you can lose opportunities. So a major challenge that I basically see, that I experienced is, first of all, they do not have the current information that they need. Because I would always say this thing: if what you don't know, eh, will kill you. A lot of people say what you don't know will not harm you. No, it will, it can, right? So I think lack of information, and I'm going to share a practical, because I always want to make it as practical as possible. Many business owners and many
Unbelievable.
startups that I have been able to work with are just majorly concerned with moving from ideation to incubation and acceleration to MVP stage to expansion and growth. Nobody's thinking of the processes that happen in between those processes. They don't understand that there are things that they are meant to do. So a major challenge is, first of all, they don't even understand, or they don't have the updates on the laws that guide and regulate their industry. So this is what I always say: if you do not have the resources to say you want to engage a professional, which I think you should, especially if it's a headache, you need to get people that your headache is their sweet, is their they love it. Get them on board. If you can't do that, go one day before. I don't know if it's Google or Chat GPT who asks these days, but go and ask, what are the tax regulations that govern my particular industry? Name it. So let's say you're in the real estate sector, go to Google. What laws govern the real estate industry in Nigeria, or what tax laws govern the real estate industry in Nigeria? Information is free. Check first. That solves your knowledge problem. Whether you know what to do with that knowledge is a different thing. First thing is
What do you
know.
call it again? What law, Abi?
Yeah, yeah. So go and check it, right? Make sure you cross-check the information so that you're not getting outdated information. That's why I will always say, get a compliance professional. Don't Google is not your lawyer. Let me just put that caveat. All the lawyers that are watching this, please write it in the comment box. Google is not your lawyer. Right? But understand first, have a general knowledge of the laws on taxation that governs your industry, first of all. Then the next thing that you need to do, which I've seen is as a challenge, is that they don't know when and how. So they don't know what, they don't know when, and they don't know how. So there's something that FIRS always does. They have something that is called a compliance calendar. In fact, I think it's one of the resources that I'm going to share after this live session. There is a calendar that they have from January to December that states particular dates when certain taxes should be remitted. And I will share you some examples, right? Your company income tax usually is supposed to be paid, I think depending on your financial year, right? 6 months after your financial year, that's the deadline. But right now, because of the new changes in the Finance Act, and they're trying to, reduce it and bring it backwards, right? And you see it on the calendar, they'll write maybe if your depending on when your financial year starts and ends, they'll say 30. And of course, company income tax is paid once a year, it's not every month. So you see 31st of March, you see it there. So you already have that timetable, so you work with that timetable. For value added taxes, people don't know. In fact, 90% of the businesses that I speak to, they don't even know that they are supposed to remit value added taxes monthly. They just wake up and say, Omo, we've not been filing tax, so what do we do, right? So on that calendar, on that compliance calendar, you will see 21st of every month. But the truth is, now with the new finance bill that is currently before the National Assembly, they want to shift it from the 21st to the 14th. So that's something that business owners should also know as well. So the second challenge is that they don't know when. So we have addressed the issue of what, right? What are they? The second is when. So you need to have a compliance calendar. And if you have, you have the privilege to engage a tax consultant or you have a lawyer, ensure that you are kept up to date, with when, because it's that when that will guide you. I have a client that literally she sets an alarm on her phone on the 18th of every month, right? Once it's the 18th, like she say, oh yeah, please, we have to remit VAT. In fact, she's the one that reminds me. And I'm like, yeah, good. You are keeping up to speed, right? You're keeping up to speed. So the second is so when. Then the third, and I think the most important, is how. And let me break this down. I see Lezua's comments. Thank you for that. I need to highlight that. Thank you. I need to highlight that. So, you need to understand the how. And what's the how? First things first. The government is not your enemy. As much as, yes, GB has complained and has said that you are paying all these things, nobody is giving you lights, you are queuing at the petrol station from morning till night. Okay, do you understand? It's annoying, but how is number one, as a business owner or consultant, as employee, know where your tax office is located first of all. This is after you've obtained your tax identification number. Know where your office is located. So, for example, some people don't know that the tax office that is designated for you is where your business is located on your company registration document. So, for example, your company registration document says that you are in, let me pick a very popular place, Ikeja, Maryland, right? Your tax office definitely is going to be the Ikeja tax office. And it's a matter of just going to check the MND, so it's called MSTO, right? The medium and small tax office of different locations. So you go to that office and say, oh, I just registered my business, I just registered my company. What do I need to do? Right? What do I need to do? And then you go there and then they will give you a form. I wish I could show you guys the form. The form was actually here. There's a form they'll just give you. Submit this form, come back in 24 hours, your tax identification number will be ready. It's that easy. In fact, right now, everything can be done online, which I will share to later. So another challenge that I see business owners face is that they don't know how. So you need to go to your tax office and just sit down and say, I'm a business owner, please let me know what I have to do. They'll be so glad to tell you what to do. And you're not paying for that. The reason why, sometimes you may have to pay is maybe because you've engaged a consultant and the person is going to have to do some running around, obviously. So you're going to have to cater maybe to their mobility and stuff. But getting your tax identification number is free. A lot of business owners don't know this. It is, right? So get that, and then they will guide you as to this is how to file, this is where to file. And then, right now, the government has done something that's called Tax Pro Max. So Tax Pro Max is the digital platform that every business owner has access to be able to file all these taxes by themselves, online, digitally. And you can walk into your FIRS or your tax office and say, this is my company document. I want to be registered on the Tax Pro Max platform. There and there, they would locate your tax identification number, because nothing can be done without your tax identification number. That's the foundation, right? Once you send them or you give them your number, they would send you the password and your login details to the Tax Pro Max platform, and you can start uploading and paying your taxes as at when due. That's the first step, and a lot of people don't know this, right? And some people say it's too technical, it's too stressful. Hence, get a consultant to help you, because that's basically what they do. So those are the three challenges I see, and that's the solutions I prefer. Number one, get knowledge, understanding the laws that govern or the tax laws that regulate your industry. Dig in deep, do some research. The second thing is know the when. Have a calendar that guides whatever it is that you have to do. Look for information, get a consultant, get someone to help you if that's something that you don't like to even deal with. Third is how. Become friends, become familiar with the tax office where your business is located, and ask for information. Get your Tax Pro Max login details, and you get information from them. In fact, they'll be updating you as to what you are meant to do regularly. And don't forget what another last thing I'll say is, take advantage of how the law, what's the word, benefits you. So for some of you that are less than a year old, some of you don't know that the law has given you some benefit of the doubt. For the first, at least by the time you don't have, so you already know that there's a threshold. Of course, within the first 1 year, you may not hit that 25 million naira in revenue. So you don't have to pay CIT, even VAT, but you need to at least be filing. So let me say something here, and I'll end this question with this. I hope I'm not taking too much time. There's a difference between filing and remittance. Filing is, I went to school, they gave me a report card. I did well, I did well, I did not do well. That's a report card. Filing is like going to the FIRS or the tax office and saying, this is my report card. Oh. This is what I did from month January to month December. Whether you made money or you not make money, you are filed. Right? Remittance is now, if you hit those particular thresholds and there is taxable profits, then you remit your taxes. And then there is a way to do that, whether it's to the LIRS or the FIRS. The LIRS has they have a digital platform as well. So just understand those things, because a lot of people, they don't do it. And let me tell you, there's a penalty for three things. Number one, there's a penalty for not getting a tax identification number. Number two, there's a penalty for not remitting value-added taxes. Number three, there's a penalty for not charging. So for those of you that are not charging, there's a penalty for it. And when they just come and knock on your door one day, they are going to compile all your sins from the day you started your business to the day when they come knocking at your door. That is why it is very bad. You will not hear from them at all. But the day they come, they will come heavy. Some of us, we heard about what happened to DSTV when there was almost how many billions of naira that was lobbied against them. They initially they actually had to, Marvelous is laughing. Yes, they will compile your sins. That's why you have to, because they will leave you for 5 years. You will not hear from them. Then when you blow, they'll say, this one has money now, let's go. And the goal of every business is to blow, isn't it? So the sooner you get things done, the better. So I think that would be my answer to that question.
Wow, that was intense and quite a lot to take in. But I hope that we're taking notes. I, for one, I'm taking notes that concerns me. So for my organization, Asylum and Eden, we are barely a year old after registration. So the whole advantages of not paying CIT and we are charging VAT and all that. But I must also, I mean, she's here. I disturb her a lot. I must also confess, I've not filed since the register. And I've been,
don't let them hear you outside.
She's my company's lawyer, and I'll be like, come and help my life.
Have you briefed me properly?
Come and help my life. But guys, please let us ensure that we file. There is nothing as paying. It's one thing to file and have your paper. So if they want to come and claim, you say, but I've been filing, this is proof. It's a lot better than not filing at all and not paying. Tax, this guys, the LRS guys, it's not their fault, but by nature of their job, they've wrecked a lot of small businesses. Because when they come in their numbers and demand for tax, some of these businesses shut down because they've not paid for a while, and then they're literally coming to take stock money they will use to buy materials, goods, and all that. They are taking it to pay tax, and in the long run, they don't have a business again. So it is very, very important that if you're thinking of starting a business, I usually say today is the best time to start any business. In fact, today is the best time to take any step. So if you're starting a business, tonight is the best time to start it. The understanding of every journey comes in taking the first step. You may not know what you want to sell yet. You may not even know what the business will do. And businesses are living things. They evolve. Samsung did not start as a phone, as a electronics brand. They started selling maybe fish or so. So businesses are living things. All right. So how do we now file? I know you mentioned something about the Pro Max. The first day I had that thing, I laughed. I said, is this iPhone? But I know you said something about the Pro Max tax or something. Can you walk us through the process of filing so that those of us that have not filed can take our sub and go and file?
So I thought.
Can you walk us through the process?
Okay, so I touched on it earlier, right? And the first thing is you need to, before you even talk about filing first, you need to go and confirm whether you have a tax identification number, because some of you think you do. Some of you think that you do, but you don't, right? And of course, with the new CAC thing, where if you register a limited liability company, your tax identification number is printed on your certificate. If you register a business name, your tax identification number is not written in your certificate. You have to go and request. You have to go and apply to get one. Um, I would say that that's the first step. That's the first step. Once you have that number, and let me share a challenge that I've seen that a lot of my clients or a lot of my business clients face is that the tax identification number that is written on their CAC certificates, sometimes it's wrong. Sometimes
Hmm.
it's a Papa branch that they took your tax number to, and you are in Ikotun. Sometimes it's not correct. So I always say to check, to double check. You need to confirm that that tax identification number that is on your certificate is for you. I will share a very annoying story. My friend registered a business on
So how?
CAC, and
Sorry to cut you. So
yeah,
how do we confirm by going to the tax office where
that's
our
what I'm about
business
to
is
share
located,
now.
right?
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
All
A
right.
friend of
Go
mine
on.
registered a
I'm with you.
company for, yeah, a lot of my friend registered a company for somebody, and do you know that it happens very rare? It's not every time, but it's unfortunate if you are there, if you are caught there. The tax number that they issued to her was in fact 80% of the time for my clients, I see that it's thrown to different branches. So a company, in the company certificate document, they said this company is located in Ikoyi. Obviously, it should be the Victoria Island tax office that your tax identification number is supposed to be linked to. People of God, the tax number was taken to Orile Igomu. So what we had to do, what we had to do is we simply had to go to the tax office at the location where we wanted to start filing, and then we said, oh, our tax number is showing Orile Igomu. They will check on their system, right? You send a simple email sending your document and stating that we wish to request a redirection of our tax identification number from the Orile Igomu branch to the Victoria Island branch. Less than 24 hours, hopefully 48 hours is done, right? So I've experienced that personally. So you have to go to the tax office and request that is rectified. Once that's rectified, you can now start moving on, right? Now, once you get your tax identification number, which is step one, and you've overcome all the challenges that you may face, especially if it's in a wrong branch or something, the next thing you have to do is you need to request for the login details for your Tax Promax platform. Initially, before the Tax Promax thing started, what we will do is we'll go to the tax office, collect form. They call it taxpayers update form. And I think I should share that so that we can see how it looks like. So you just give me a minute so that I don't waste too much time. But as GB begins to speak, I would try to share that my screen so you see how it looks like. It's a taxpayers update form. It basically just states the name of your business, the location, the director, your email, your phone number, your company address, who is the principal officer, who is your filing officer, who is your compliance officer. Just basically getting data, your business registration number, your tax identification number. You fill that form, just drop it in the tax office and say you want to update. They'll create your record. And because now you have that Tax Promax login, because you can log in, you see different filings, and the site itself will tell you what to do. But before the whole Tax Promax thing, you had to go there, pick forms, you have to, fill in data. For example, if you're filing your value added tax, you have to pick a form and start trying to understand what they're asking there. But on the Tax Promax platform, it is really simplified. So you just click a button, and then if you say VAT, if you did not make any money or you made money that is not taxable, state it there and submit before the deadline. So it's that easy. The government has tried now to make it more digitalized. And let me share some data. Compared to last year, that's 2021. Sorry, I'm speaking from 2022. It was recorded that the federal government brought in about 10.1 trillion in revenue from tax alone, and that it was a record breaker. And what we can see, because we're in 2023, there's going to be more attempts by the government to enlarge the tax nets. So they're going to be more serious because it really helped the government, buffer some expenditure last year. And so the government is literally paying attention now to, being able to open and spread that tax net. So those are some of the things I just wanted to mention. So go get your tax identification number, ensure that you have a file in your nearest tax office. If you can't do it, get a consultant to do it. Get your login password or login details to your Tax Pro Max platform, and then just see what you can do. Yeah. So I think those will be my responses. And then, of course, depending on your industry, you're not only going to be dealing with FIRS. So I'm talking about FIRS. For LIRS, go to the website too. They'll also guide you on how to get your PAYE ID. Lagos State has their own system, and it's clearly stipulated on the website as well. And then if you have a consultant, they can walk you through the process. So that'll be my response.
Okay, so if you have questions, please drop them in the chats. We have like 10 more minutes so we can quickly wrap up. All right, final question from me, and then I can take some questions from the.
Yeah, I even see some
chat.
comments in the
Yeah.
in the comments.
Now, before we answer that, most of the questions written down here, you already have. Okay, so how can small businesses, or how can businesses in Nigeria take advantage of available tax incentives? So I know that there are tax incentives for paying tax. Can you tell us what those tax incentives are and how can we take advantage of this?
Okay, there are so many. Everybody knows. So if you are a small company, you have a lot of perks. You have a lot of perks. And I'm using the word tax generally, right? Because even the Corporate Affairs Commission, they also have their requirements and they go together. So some of the benefits, so I'll start from, of course, a lot of people understand, CSE, but we're talking about startups now. So let's do some sort of more granulation into what you stand to gain when you register. If you register, now let me also say this: there's a Startup Act that was signed into law on the 19th of October 2022. One of the key things that a lot of startups are going to get is that they're going to have a lot of tax benefits for their investors, for people who invest in those companies, because the government is going to be giving some sort of tax breaks, being able to allow tax businesses or investors to be able to apply for credit notes. So credit notes are basically like if you overpay tax in some particular areas, the government can keep that for you and use it as a note. It's kind of like having a voucher, right? So those are some benefits. The second thing is that if you are a small company and you're not earning up to 25 million in revenue, we know that your company income tax rate is 0%. You're paying 0%. Your VAT, you're not filing. You're not remitting, but you have to file. Let me pay that. Let me pay that attention. For CAC, within 1 year, if you're a business name, the moment you register your business, within 12 months, right, you are not needing to file what is called annual returns. So some of your business owners, some of you have forgotten that there's something called annual returns. Annual returns is what you tell the government or the CAC that you are alive, they are still breathing. It's supposed to be done every year. You have a moratorium period or a break period of 12 months if you're a business name, and then 18 months if you're a limited liability company. So for 18 months, go and play, have fun. Okay, I'm seeing some comments on I think YouTube. Yeah. So go and play, go and have fun, do whatever. But when you start, once that your 18-month kicks, you have to start filing your annual returns. And there are penalties for not doing these things, right? So those are some of the few perks that we have. And then for all those major taxes, like maybe a tertiary education tax, if you're not hitting some particular revenue levels, you do not fall under that, right? You don't necessarily have to do that. If you are not, then capital gains, you have some breaks as well, but that's not applicable if you are not heavily involved in the disposition of maybe property, maybe heavy capital gain. Capital gain is basically a type of tax that is gotten when you dispose, maybe you dispose a car or you dispose an asset. Maybe you're in the manufacturing industry and you have a lot of production tools in your company. When you sell that, your capital gain are taxable, right? But there are some, how will I put it now? There are some benefits you have that is reduced. The new finance bill now that is currently before the government now, Guess what? For those of you that are in blockchain, crypto, and all that, do you know what the government has said now? That when you dispose of a digital asset, you are paying 10% in capital gain tax, right? There was initially a plan to increase it to 30%, but it has been reduced to 10%. So these are some of the things to expect, and these are some of the benefits you have. Then another one is, like I mentioned earlier, the government is not pursuing anybody. So they've given you the mandate to do what is called self-assessment. So we are under what is called a self-assessment regime. You are the one that will sit down with your accountant or your financial officer and look at your company's balance sheets. So the thing is that you cannot take away tax from accounting. So for those of you that are running businesses that you do not have an account department, you don't know your figures, nothing. This is not the year, guys. This is not the year. So you sit down with even if it's to get a small business accountant, look at your balance sheet, look at your books. And is there profit? Is that profit taxable? Is it allowable income? Whatever it is, right? And then you get that together. And then you can boldly go to your tax platform and say, I'm not supposed to file anything based on these figures that we made, based on the fact that we didn't hit this income, based on the fact that we did not get this amount in revenue, based on this, based on that, based on that. And the government allows you to self-assess, right? It is only when they think that based on your account statements, what you are presenting is not what is on the record, then you may have a problem, because they will write back and say, based on this, based on that, this is how much you're meant to pay, and you can justify it. And if you are not comfortable with what they tell you, you can appeal it, because you are a taxpayer, you have a right. Okay. And then the last thing I want to mention is, for those of you that have staff, the deadline, let me say it, the deadline for filing your payee, that's your employees tax, is the 31st of this month. And there are going to be penalties if you don't comply. So let me just put that out there. So I think that's a short, hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It really does. Thank you. Thank you so much.
And then if you have more questions, you can always hit my DM. Yeah.
All right. So the first question from the audience is VAT number and TIN the same thing? I mean, me, I can answer this. I don't think
Yeah,
it's not. It's
give the
not.
answer.
It's
No.
not.
So
And the
yeah,
reason,
yeah.
so VAT is, like Rosemont has taught us, the value added tax. It is 7.5% of the total amount of money you are charging for a product or a service. Case in point, let's say that you are a consultant and then you want to develop something for someone and then you've charged them 100,000 naira. Now, while your invoice is carrying 100,000 naira, you have to add VAT if your business is registered as a limited liability. You have to add 7 VAT, which is 7.5% of 100,000, which in the rough sense is about 75, if I'm right. Am I right? Am I wrong?
So you've
So you
answered the
have to do
question in a context, right? You
in a
are correct
context, yeah.
in yes, in a context. In a context.
So
VAT is like the charge for that, right? But VAT number. So I think what Yira is trying to say is, tax identification number is written on your certificate. Does the government give VAT numbers? So initially, yeah, it's not the same. They're not the same. Let me just answer that question without even starting. But VAT number is not 7.5%. VAT number is a special number that is usually given, that is written on your VAT form. So when you open your Tax Promax platform and you fill your VAT form, there's a form that comes out that you have to fill. Once you pay that, there is a number that is usually generated as your VAT number. That is like per filing. So it's like receipt number. Yeah, I think that's how I'll put it. It's like a receipt number. So your VAT number basically is a unique number that is attached to all your VAT payments. It is not the same as your tax identification number. Your tax identification number is like the IME, what's that language? IMEI number for your phone. So it identifies your company. But your VAT number is for the purposes of filing your value-added taxes alone. So they are not the same. And that's different from the rate of 7.5%.
Yeah, I mixed that. Apparently I didn't see VAT number. I just saw VAT.
VAT,
so thank you for clarifying that. Yeah. Is there a threshold for collecting and remitting VAT?
Okay, maybe, okay, that's Victory's question. Maybe she can explain better. So when you say
Better.
threshold, you mean
Okay.
the highest amount? So I've already mentioned that every business or every company is a collecting agent, right? See, whether you are earning that 25 million or not, you have to charge it. You have to charge it. It's important that you charge it. But whether you remit it is different, right? So, like I said, if you're not hitting 25 million, your VAT, your CIT is 0%. If you're not, if you've hit 25 million to 100 million, your let me focus on company income tax. Your company income tax is 20% if you are earning above 25 million to 100 million. And then if you're earning above 100 million in a financial period, and we all get there, amen, amen, right? You are going to pay 30% of as company income tax. For value added tax, once you cross that threshold, you are going to start making those payments to FIRS. And remember, it's 7.5% of taxable income. And don't forget, not all income is taxable, right? So you sit down with your accountant. Of course, it's an accounting terminology, but to explain what taxable income means, taxable income simply means income that the government can collect from. So, for example, let's just say your gross revenue in a financial period is, let's say, 100,000. God forbid, yeah, it's too small, but let's assume, right? And then the profit that you made was 10,000. The government cannot touch 100,000. It's from that 10,000 that they will now ask: Is this taxable? Is this profit? Have you been able to? Are there cash allowable deductances? So there are some amounts even in that profit that you get that are not taxable too, and your accountant will be able to guide you through, or your financial consultant or whatever. So once you do that, the government, whatever 7%, 7.5% of that is what you remit as VAT. So it's a whole lot of calculation, but it's very, very simplistic, at least for business owners that are starting out. I love Bumi's comment. So she said, so I think she's asking a question here. I believe withholding tax is okay. Somebody's asking a question about withholding tax, if I'm correct, right? But I like that. I
Yeah.
like the comment that she said. Yeah, said I believe withholding tax is deducted from source. Is it every business? Okay, she's asking a question. Is it every business name that should be subject to this deduction? Is it dependent on the yearly income of the business? So withholding tax and VAT are the same percentage, 5%, 7.5%, 7.5%, right? And in some industries, withholding tax is like 5% or so. And the thing is that the clients, depending on your industry, so you've seen some people when lawyers charge, or when lawyers are giving out their bill, right? They want to collect value added tax. The client wants to collect withholding tax. So it's kind of like the government way of saying, the income that this person is getting, collect it for us in advance. And it varies, like I said, it varies between 5 to 10%, depending on the transaction. And there are different transactions that have that. So let me give you an example of transactions that withholding tax applies to, because it's not all transactions. Now, dividend on interest, rent, you can collect withholding tax from that. Director's fee, no. For companies, you don't charge withholding tax on that. Royalties, commissions, consultancy, so accountants consultancy, legal consultancy, learning consultancy, withholding tax applies to you, and it's at 10%. I think it's going to be adjusted. Technical service fees, management fees, you collect withholding tax. So your clients can collect withholding tax from you, who is the service provider. Construction of roads, buildings, and then contract other than normal buying and selling, right? Withholding tax is applicable. So I don't know if that answers your question. So the law specifically mentions the kinds of activities that withholding tax is collectible from. So just think of withholding tax as the opposite of value added tax. Value added tax is collected by you as a business. Withholding tax is collected by your clients on behalf of the government. I hope that makes sense to that question.
Right. Let's see. We can take one more question and then
Okay, yeah. Victory has
we go.
clarified. Yes, I mentioned 25 million for CIT. Yes, I've already answered that question. Yeah.
Right. Um, I don't think I can see any more question in the chat. Let me use this opportunity to say thank you, and also say that beyond this session, Rosemont, maybe because I'm a learning specialist and I like to make knowledge available and transfer knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
It will make a lot more sense if we can have a short course.
Mm.
Um, and you can look me up. I can look you up on platforms that you can put this short course on. It may be free. You may want to put the price to it, but I think being free also builds top of mind awareness in minds of business owners and the likes. If you can do a short course for us on taxation in Nigeria,
Mm.
nothing too deep, just the various type, what is tax, various aspects of tax, the climate, the guys that oversee tax in Nigeria, the types of tax, VAT, CIT, PE,
Mm-hmm.
withholding tax, like each of those ones can be various lessons with definitions and all that. I'm sure that a lot of businesses and a lot of business owners would appreciate that. But guys, am I speaking your mind? You think I've
Because
just made sense? Can you put that? Can you say yes? You see, Marvelous already
uh-uh.
says yes.
Somebody marvelous, you are there. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think that that would also not just be useful for us, but it'll be useful for a lot of small businesses. I know you have a white paper where
Mm.
you spoke about tax already, but I mean, having too many touch points where you talk about these things. I mean, this is a live session. It's good to have it in a recorded form where people can, wherever it is, they stumble on your touch points.
Mm.
They understand that this is the renowned face and the renowned name um, as far as taxation in Nigeria is concerned. If you have tax concerns for a startup, speak to Rosemond. I mean, that's also how you do talk leadership. Um, any final words before we call it a
Yeah.
day? We're 6 minutes late.
I'm telling you, definitely. So I want to mention this, that prevention is always better than cure. And like I said, knowledge is what separates you. And I know that there are professionals in the room. Knowledge is what separates you as a professional, as a consultant, as a business owner, as a startup from the rest. When you know something, you cannot be afraid of it. When you know it in and out, you cannot make mistakes. I've mentioned some things in passing and it may look like a whole lot, but this was a very, very basic introduction. After this session, go back, do a lot of research, do a lot of analysis, understand what the government needs from you, and understand that the government is not trying to punish you. Yes, we may be unfortunately living in a system where it looks like our work is not working, but because you don't want to be left behind, like I mentioned earlier, we have a new startup act, and that act is literally going to separate those who are playing and those who are ready to do business. So begin to position yourself. The act is downloadable. Go to I think Nigerian Startup Act on startupact.ng or something. You would see the act. Download it. It is very easy to read and very easy to understand. In fact, there is a presentation that explains what the act does, from taxes to what you have to do as a startup to regulations, everything. It's very easy to read, very easy to understand. Position yourself and get ready so that you are not paying unnecessary penalties at the end of the day. Now that you have this information, make sure that you use it to the best of your ability. And I think that you would be able to be, one of the top two people or top tier people when it comes to doing business. Nothing will take you by surprise, right? Because you've already gotten that information. The government allows you to assess yourself. So don't think that it's you are being forced to, but just know that it's important that you have to. So I think those would be my final comments. And if it's confusing and you don't even want to touch it with your left finger, get a consultant, speak to someone, speak to a lawyer, and make sure that you speak to them. They said there are three people you should not lie to: your pastor, your doctor, and your lawyer. So talk to your lawyer, talk to your consultant about issues that you have. Let them understand your pain points and let them solve those issues. That's why they exist. So that'll be my final comment. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for this wonderful, wonderful session. Um, Me, as far as me I'm concerned, it was a dream come true because I've literally been on Rosemont's case to have a session like this. All right. And I'm glad that every other person on the call also got to enjoy um okay, got to enjoy this session with us. Um
Yeah.
if you need to connect with Rosemont, you can send her a personal message or a direct message on LinkedIn, right?
Yes,
Um
definitely.
and yeah, I mean you guys can pick it up from there. Thank you, Rosemont. Thank you everyone for joining us. I hope that we have a beautiful evening. Bye for
Thank
now,
you,
guys.
everybody. All right. Thank you very much and have an amazing time. Take care of yourselves. Bye, everybody. Bye. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your comments. Definitely, definitely. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. So please make sure to connect with someone. Make sure that you reach out to somebody, and then you can always have the session. It's already live on YouTube, so you can go there and watch for as many times as you possibly want. And yes, definitely. The video is already shared. It's live. It's recorded. You can always go back, and you can always go back as many times as you want. So have a very beautiful evening. Have a very beautiful Saturday. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Lucia. Thank you, Emmanuel. Thank you, Bolaji. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Have an amazing evening and bye, guys. Bye.